Welcome, everyone. It is July 3rd, 2022, 4th of July weekend, and it's a beautiful, literally cloudless day in Berkshire, Massachusetts. Windy, but beautiful. And I am Robin, the co-host, so happy to be here today. And so this is the Morgellons Call of the Week. It is where we come to have community, get help, and continue to get well. And Richard Kuhns is the author of the book, How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites. And he has just recently, fairly recently, released the 11th edition of his book because he keeps researching, he keeps learning, he keeps finding new information, and he shares it with us. He is an expert on Morgellons and other skin parasites, and he has been in the trenches with us. He has suffered with Lyme disease, with Morgellons, with mites, with springtails, with nematodes. So, you know, we are so blessed and lucky to have this call with Richard every week. And he's, you know, you can email him, you can ask him questions every Sunday. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce Richard Kuhns, the author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to our July 4th edition of Getting Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites. Yes, as Robin said, I've had it all. I don't think I didn't miss one of the things, you know. So, and I came out the other end, and I eat everything I want, and so it's wonderful. Life is, again, wonderful and worth living. Although there for a while it was questionable. I never, ever anticipated that it would happen, that I would get my life back. I thought I would probably have been dead before the turn of the century. So anyway, the program is based on a diet that I basically discovered, uncovered. I've named it the King Diet because of being so happy to have finally attained relief after a couple of years of suffering and going to doctors, as many of you have, and collecting samples and stuff like that. You know, I've been there. I've done it. I remember I used to do it, but I forget what it felt like to have all that suffering, which is good. But I didn't forget to the point that I forgot that there are others that suffer. I never thought I'd be some kind of a beacon to other people, but here I am. And the program is based on the King Diet. Now, the King Diet is not any diet that has any sense to it that we can understand. It's not, there is no theory to it that we can understand. All I know is that when you eat certain foods, I mean, they can be healthy foods. It's the King Diet. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's that the parasites love things like olive oil, which is very healthy, and I don't know if there is one diet in the whole wide world that excludes olive oil. So there you have it. I mean, and things like asparagus, you know, these are healthy foods, but the parasites love them. Fruit, I mean, just about fruit is on most diets, except for the Candida diet in the beginning. So all these healthy foods seems that the parasites love them. And when you make the diet work, then life turns around and becomes bearable once again, and you get through a night's sleep. The key is making the diet work. For most people, maybe 90% I'm guessing, just following the do-eat list and the do-not-eat list and being very meticulous about it is sufficient to have the diet kick in. And I often hear within 3 or 4 days, people have noticed diminished activity. But for some of us, and Robin can share her experience, it took a long time to make the diet work. And some of that is from mistakes that we make. And some of it is that the physiology needs to be adjusted, as we sometimes talk about, through use of increasing glutathione levels and so forth. Today we have with us Bill from Florida.
We're doing good. I'm super thankful for this diet. I'm trying to get it to kick in. I'm on day 26 of the stage 1, and I've been doing a lot of research personally as far as to what is congruent and what is not, contrary to my body, as in regards to the crawling, the itching, the biting. So the thing we're trying to avoid here is phosphorus, of course, as it says in your book, that stimulates a lot of this activity. So I started looking into what I was eating and keeping a dietary diary, and testing yourself is key, just as you've always suggested. So I can't stress that enough, because that is how I discovered that for me, tomatoes and red bell peppers were actually aggravating. Tomatoes, if anyone out there wants to write this down, have a pen and paper handy. A tomato has 43 milligrams of phosphorus. A red bell pepper has 19 milligrams of phosphorus. Also, anyone who has any grain sensitivities, it's good to know that a cup of cooked brown rice has 150 milligrams. A cup of cooked white rice, 69 milligrams. Millet grain is very high in phosphorus also. And finally, rye flour has one of the highest phosphorus contents per serving at 638 milligrams in 1 cup.
Wow.
So anyone can see that if there is any sensitivity in a specific individual's physiology in their body, that one of these could definitely set the reaction off. So it's always good to know and have knowledge on our side that we have to be aware that these do have these phosphorus contents, and if we're on the watch and we kind of test ourselves, we might be able to find out, what type of foods or grains or rices that we're able to tolerate and ones we're not. So I wanted to share that with everyone today, because cutting out some of these foods is definitely going to enhance our quality of life, so we're in less misery as we all battle this every day.
Yes, thank you. I never actually looked into the amount of phosphorus in the individual foods, such as like the rice that you have. Are you able to have the rice and the millet and the rye on stage 1, or is that strictly off for you?
So that is a great question, Richard. After I deduced that the tomato and red bell peppers were giving me issues, I was continuing to have rice. It's a staple, in a lot of the things that I cook with chicken or turkey or, some beef. And I was finding out that I was still having the crawling and the itching, and I eat a very minimalistic diet. So at this stage, in stage 1, it's really easy for me to figure out when something is, contraindicated. And I've been having only basmati rice and brown rice, those two. And both of those are very high in phosphorus, and so I've recently discovered I need to cut those out for a while and see how I do. And possibly when I get into a stage 2 or 3, I might be able to reintroduce one of those. But right at the moment, I'm going to have to, take those out and delete them.
Right. Okay. So you find the diary is very important. And could you tell us, giving us an idea of what you record in the diary, exactly what you write down, for some people who are wondering, well, how do I going to use a diary? What's it going to do? How do you use it?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be honest, the first week I was in such terrible condition, I couldn't even physically write the diary. I'm sure you remember those days. So I started actually keeping it on day number 8, and I wake up in the morning, I write down what I have for breakfast exactly, even if I had put a little black pepper or some garlic powder on something, keeping, copious notes as to everything that I eat. And then if I have a snack, something that's, allowed on the diet, or if I have a lunch, I keep the accurate amount of, I keep the time that I eat. And so I'm very mindful within 20, 25, 30 minutes if I get any reaction. That way I can refer back to what time I'm eating and what was it that I ate. But it's just very important to keep accurate notes, because if you're not, you're only cheating yourself. It's very important that, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it's on the path to getting our life back, and it's one of the things that, along with disinfecting our house and our car and our bodies, we have to do this in order to make it work. So it's just part of the protocol.
Right.
Well, yes, I thank you. And I'm thinking of actually adding a segment to our program or maybe replacing the first segment that we usually do with a topic, because the key to our success is exactly what Bill is doing, making the diet work. And as I said, for some people it's a shoo-in, but not for everyone. But yet it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So if you're going to come to some program like this that focused on the diet, my brain should have came up with this years ago. And I have oftentimes in coaching worked with people, and exactly what I do, if they have the problem making the diet work, is I have them keep the diary that Bill was talking about for about 4 days. Now, Robin, you've worked with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever had somebody say to you, I'm doing everything on the diet and it's not working?
Yeah, all the time. And they're not doing everything on the diet. It's always something wrong.
Have you had them make a journal and looked at everything they're doing and found out what?
Yeah, they're making mistakes. It's so easy to make mistakes on the diet. And, also just having them tell me exactly what they ate in a day or two for 2 days, I can find the mistakes and help them. And the other thing I want to add about the diet is that, I'm convinced these parasites feed on sugar or things that make sugar in your body. And, phosphorus may have something to do with it, but the foods that Bill is mentioning are also higher in sugar or produce sugar. And, like red bell peppers have the highest sugar of any pepper. So, I just cut them out based on the sugar that it produces in your body. And I am sensitive to gluten. I still don't eat rye flour or millet or I can eat spelt flour, and I can eat sourdough kind of flour, but I tend to avoid anything else. But I have a gluten sensitivity. I don't think, so everyone is a little different. And the thing is, you need to figure out how to make the diet work, and you need to keep a diary, and it really helps to talk to a coach to figure out where you're making mistakes, because it's overwhelming and confusing at first, and if you can't run it by a person, if you have problems reading things over and over, it helps to talk to people.
Right. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, just about everybody I've ever worked with who claimed they couldn't get the diet to work and said they were on the diet were making mistakes. And once those mistakes were caught, identified, and dealt with, it worked. And even when you're not making mistakes, then we have the sensitivities that Bill was talking about and Robin is talking about, and we have a lady that comes on the program who found that no fat period is out for her. No fat at all in terms of butter or animal fat. Or even rice bran oil. No fat whatsoever. So it's a matter of figuring it out, and how you do this, unless you have a photographic memory, you write it down, as Bill has and shared with us today. The phosphorus thing, I've never got too technical into that, but it's an interesting correlation that maybe higher foods in phosphorus are the ones that you might want to look at. And so they're the ones we might put an asterisk by and look at them as being suspects number one if you have difficulty getting the diet to work. But I'm thinking out loud, what do you think if we did the segment and had people, because this is where our success is. You make the diet work. This is where you thank us. If you don't make the diet work, you walk away and say, well, I tried that, Carol. You know, it didn't work. I don't know if you know what you're talking about. I mean, we know when you make the diet work, you sleep through the night, you feel better. So, Bill, in the terms, you say you're on day 28. How's the symptoms going? The itching and the biting? What have you noticed much change in that?
Yes, I'm on day 26, and I did make the mistake of having the rice yesterday, so I had a terrible evening last night. But now that I know what the culprit is, that shouldn't happen again. So I'm making great strides, and I want to thank you for letting me share this today, Richard. And all I can do is stress to everybody to please, please, please keep a diary, because if you're not, then you're really just sabotaging yourself.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And, you know, if we follow through and do this, and I'm thinking again out loud that we have a segment, and the people who have difficulty making the diet work and are saying in their minds or would be saying to us, look, I'm on the diet and it just isn't work. I've tried the boosting the glutathione. I've tried the medications to reduce dopamine uptake. I've tried the parasite stop formula. I've got my, you know, and I just can't make it work. So bring us a journal for 3 or 4 days of everything you consume, even the salt, the pepper, or the garlic powder, as Bill wrote down. Everything, any supplements, anything you drink, anything you put between these choppers here and into your system. A list and of time of day and how you feel when you're consuming it, and 20 minutes later, how you felt after you consumed whatever it was that you had. And do that for 3 days at least, if you can 4. And I'd bet $1 zillion bucks if I had it, that we will find the problem that is standing in the way of the diet kicking in for you. So, what do you think about that idea? Is that practical, Robin, or?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, even if we could only do 1 or 2 people a week, I think it would be so helpful.
Really, yeah. And Bill, would you be willing to participate?
Yes, absolutely. If it helps everyone, that's a positive thing, and I'd be happy to do anything I can to help.
Great. Okay. So we'll go in that direction. So you heard it out there. Anybody who has difficulty and they believe in their heart that they are following the diet, but it's just not working, rather than toss in the straw and run off to face the plan for some miracle, keep that diary for 3 days, 4 if possible, writing down everything you consume, down to the salt and the pepper. And when you're looking at salt, look at the ingredients of the salt canister. See, make sure it's only salt, all right? If you're consuming anything from a box or anything from a package,
even raw meat or fish or shrimp or chicken, they put chemicals in it. They put all kinds of stuff in them. I mean, you have to read labels. Every single label of anything, you have to read it. If it has a label, you have to read it. It's really an education.
It is, absolutely, and it's a very important education. And we, Robin and I and Bill, would be willing to be here, and Mary as well, to help go through what it is that you're consuming and see where we can make adjustments to make the diet work for you. Because I've said it 1,000 times and probably already 50 just in this segment, that when you make the diet work, you're on your path again.